I have a master's degree in counseling. So, a way that I approach things is like, for instance, Tom Kenyon just had something about listen to his music and it will reduce your stress. So if I'm doing something like that, like, seeking something to reduce my stress or doing something to reduce my stress, is that in effect solidifying that I have stress because I'm paying attention to it or trying to do something to alleviate it?
All you're doing there is developing a healthier ego. Okay, so there's something to be said for this, because if the ego is really unhealthy, like it has blind spots, then it's really, really hard. In fact, it's impossible to let it distance, because it continually comes back because of the blind spots. You cannot accept that which you do not know. You see, so it's important to know who you are not to a certain degree in order to know who you are. So there's a process in that. Counseling is really good for that. I found it necessary on my path as well. So I don't begrudge anyone that, but understand that ultimately, this is just basically taking care, it's maintenance. Maintenance so that you can have a healthy illusion. It's got to be healthy enough to dissolve. Otherwise, it becomes too many blind spots. It becomes undissolvable, or you have an experience of oneness, and then it gets snatched back by the ego through the blind spots. You see, so there's something to be said for this, and I think that embracing your humanity is a big deal. So, like when I went on my spiritual search, I was thinking that this peace that I felt with my gurus was going to make it so I didn't ever have to feel the shit I was feeling on my personal level. You see, I was mistaken in that regard. But it took some time before I realized that trap. And I saw other people in that trap too, that were just, and so people would have temporary enlightenment experiences. And we get snatched away, as soon as things got really rough, you see, and people were feeling things they didn't want to feel, and they were trying to, and they were using the spiritual path to get out of it. So there's traps, you see. And so I don't begrudge anyone for doing whatever they need to do to take care of themselves. Ultimately, the thing is that, when the self-love is complete, when all of it is love, the good, the bad, the ugly, the nervousness, all of it is love just the way it is, then there's no need to protect because everything's fine. There's no need to improve because everything's perfect, you see? And then it just glides right in, and there's no more strings. And that personal connection can release. But you cannot surrender that which you do not know. So it's part of the process. It surrenders on its own. But it can't surrender if the blind spots are too big. You see, so and if you're just going to be nervous all the time, well, the spiritual path is not for you, because there's dragons on this path, and there's a deep dark night of the soul, and there's a lot to go through. You see, and if you don't have the tools, if you cannot accept, if it's impossible to accept, then it's impossible to move on. See, because that resistance, it holds you there. holds you there. You can't resist something that isn't there. So it's always there. And so there's a good place for this counseling is a really important tool sometimes to moving beyond.